Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, unlike my feel of Jake Hager's, I actually like this hat. I'm not going to make it a dumb gimmick of mine like Jake Hager did with the JAS. But of course, I am showing off this hat because this hat is reversible. You got the Pirates on one side. And for those of you who are from Pittsburgh, Robert Morris University on the other side. But of course, I will reverse it back for now to just the Pirates, because that's where I got it from. And that was from the Pirate game I went to last night. Even though, of course, it was probably the only game I'm going to this year for the Pirates. I should have waited to say this for like a baseball video, but I still wanted to wear it because I still enjoy this hat. I do like this hat. I kind of get why Jake Hager liked this hat. I just still hated like the whole bit of the gimmick. But yeah, so last night I actually went to the Pirate game because it was Robert Morris University alumni night. And for those of you who do not know, I'm a graduate of Robert Morris University right here in Pittsburgh. So this was the hat they gave us last night. It was probably the best thing about last night because, well, in fact, I got to hang out with some of my friends that I see it good often. I didn't really see too many people I haven't really seen in a while, but I do enjoy this hat, so expect me to see it a little more often on me. Maybe. I don't know if I'll go overboard with it, but I at least wanted to do it for this stream. Well, not stream, but I should have done this one live. I should have done this video live. Because what is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993. Now I'm tempted to post a photo of this on Twitter and call out Jake Hager with it. Maybe I will. Who knows? But what is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and this is my review of this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, the September 4th, 2023 edition that took place in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's not here. Kenny Omega. Yes, of course, he's always announced from there. But of course, I got to get that out there. But I think if I would have put the time in to do this one live, this would have been a good episode of Raw to go live for. Because this, believe it or not, was I would say, one of the best episodes of Raw we've had in a long time. It was very story-driven. It set up several possibilities for Fastlane. It is somewhat, but not too much, of the fallout from Jey Uso coming over to Monday Night Raw, and they did something that I didn't even think about they would do, and it made a lot of sense in my opinion. And a bunch of other things, and of course we also got the main event, the Intercontinental title match between Gunther and Chad Gable. Now, if Gunther wins, then he will officially, because it'll be the last title defense he'll have before this Friday. Because I believe this Friday will be when Gunther would officially pass the Honky Tonk Man as the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. A 35-year-old record. Did Gunther, in fact, break that record? We will talk about that and find out. And he was on the show, but we couldn't see him. We'll talk about that segment when we get to that as well. There was a lot of good stuff that happened on this episode of Raw. I am pretty excited about talking about it. Nothing really that I have to complain about. I mean, a couple of things, like, again, I'm wondering where they're going to go, because it seems they're continuing Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura, I thought, had a good match with Ricochet on this show. Of course, we also get the Judgment Day seemingly finding a direction with JD McDonough, as they did a few things that, like, kind of make up for some stuff, but it's still, the damage has still been done. Like I said, I'm still not 100% for Judgment Day, but there were some things they did on this show that's like, that kind of works. But again, it still might be too late for me to get that hyped for the Judgment Day. But anyways, let's talk about it. The show opened up with Mr. It's Just Me, Oos. Day one, it's just me, Oos. Day one, it's just me, Oos. Day one-ish. Yep. Jey Uso, which of course he came in through the crowd. Wonder if that was just basically him coming in from where he left, even though he didn't do that at Payback this past weekend. But yeah, he came out and he does his. He's always wanted to do this, but he welcomes us to Monday Night Raw. He says, I know it's only been about 2 or 3 weeks, but it felt longer, and he missed us. He just really hit a breaking point because he got tired of fighting his family on national television every single week. But then out of the blue, he got an unexpected call from Cody Rhodes. And now he's here on Raw by himself. And main event Jey Uso is now in your city. But then things get interesting. Here comes other former Bloodline member, Sami Zayn, who comes out alone. Apparently Kevin Owens was not there on this episode. Don't know if that's him kayfabe-wise because of, selling, the effects from the war basically he had with Judgment Day in that Steel City street fight on Saturday. That was definitely my match of the night at Payback. Or this could be a reason to keep him off TV for a few weeks if he's still, dealing with his nagging injuries. Because maybe it could. Because I think we might, based on what we got tonight, I think we're going to get some sort of like a tag match at Payback involving Jey Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and the Judgment Day. Maybe even, of course, Cody Rhodes, maybe. But, of course, we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But anyway, Sami comes out. And he addressed something that I didn't even think of. But first he mentions that it's crazy to see Jey here. But the thing is, though, again, this was like the eye-opener that I didn't even think of. There are a lot of people on Raw that have a very big problem with Jey being here. Because of everything he did with the Bloodline. He's made a lot of enemies. And when I said that, I'm like, that's going to create some interesting television. Basically, these people who are here, like guys like, Drew McIntyre, Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, a lot of people who the Bloodline made enemies with. So obviously, he's not going to just walk back in. And heck, maybe even Seth Rollins, the champ also. A lot of people are not just going to, walk in and just, do what Sami Zayn or even Cody Rhodes did. But anyways, he knows, but Sami says it's fine because Owens isn't here tonight, and whatever problem anyone has, that's not what this is all about. This is about just the two of them. He wanted to make sure he was the first person Jey saw, so he could look at him and tell him face to face, he's happy he's here. He knows Jey, and what is in Jey's heart, and what kind of guy Jey is. He knows how hard the last couple months have been. But he broke free. He did it. He's standing here on his own 2 feet, being who he's always been. And he's now truly main event Jey Uso. And Sami doesn't expect him and Jey to be best buds overnight. But he wanted to tell him face to face that he's proud of him. And then Sami extends a hand to shake Jey's hand. But Jey puts his hand on the back of his neck. And then, And then Sammy's like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to push you, but I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. And as Sami goes to leave, Jay just says, hey, Sami, that wasn't very oozy of you, was it? Basically invites Sami in, and they hug it out. So for now, besides Cody Rhodes, as far as we know at least, because Cody wasn't on the show tonight. He was advertised for next week. But things could get interesting here, because we'll mention something that in a little bit also that came out of the show from Jay. But as they're leaving, though, out comes Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle. And both of them have a history with the Bloodline. And both of them kind of have a stare down, basically said, we still don't like you. So again, there's some things there because again, we're preparing for this match with Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle versus the Viking Raiders. They fought each other in a tornado tag match. They've been showing like Drew McIntyre has been quite a hothead lately. So they are heavily teasing a heel turn for Drew McIntyre. Of course, does that mean that they're going to go with Drew McIntyre? Or could this be a possible swerve? But of course, that's one person that could possibly Jey Uso could feud with on Raw. Is Drew McIntyre. Because Drew's got beef with him after what happened with him in the Bloodline. Matt Riddle, same thing happened. Of course, they, storyline-wise, probably were ones that wrote off Randy Orton from his injury. And he's been gone since. But there's a few names there. But of course, they came out. Before we got to the match with Matt Riddle and the Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, and the Viking Raiders. We have Seth Rollins backstage. First we see Ricochet backstage talk with Adam Pearce. And then he basically wants to know what's next for him. Basically addressing how, what happened with Logan Paul, this and that. But then Seth shows up. And they had after Payback went off the air on Saturday, Nakamura did attack Seth. And basically hurt his back even more. Even though, as I keep saying, what hurt the match a little to me at Payback is even though Nakamura worked on the back, they didn't make it seem it was as big of an Achilles heel as they built it to be. So that's why I'm wondering my take on it is Rollins hit like a quick curb stomp. Kind of got maybe just a little bit lucky for what they're trying to imply. Even though if the idea is they're building Nakamura back up again as a main event star, I don't think he should have been pinned from one curb stomp. But anyway, so Pierce says, what are you doing here? And Seth's not even clear to be in the building. But Seth's like, yo, I can walk, I can fight. Then Ricochet steps in and he says, I saw your match, and I respect you for showing up on Raw. And Seth takes it as a compliment. But Ricochet also tells him he doesn't have to carry the whole show to endanger himself. Which, of course, Rollins is still not happy about. He's like, I can fight, watch me. So we'll see him a little bit later on. But we had the match with, it's listed here on Cage Side as McRiddle. Drew McIntyre and McRiddle, taking on the Viking Raiders in a tornado tag match. The match actually wasn't too bad. I keep saying this. Again, Viking Raiders, put on some car-crashing matches. But again, the characters, it's like, you still don't get them. During the match, though, Kofi Kingston came out to save Matt Riddle from the Ragnarok going through the table. However, though, when Kofi goes for a Trouble in Paradise on, I think it was Eric, they duck and Matt Riddle gets hit with the Trouble in Paradise. Of course, Drew McIntyre sees it. He starts fuming again because he's just so desperately wanting to take out the Viking Raiders. And it just it sets him off so easily. I think they have lawn dart Kofi into McIntyre to get him out of the way. They hit the Ragnarok on Riddle through the table, and then they get the victory. Of course, we did hear from Riddle and McIntyre later in the show, but again, it's more so not Riddle. McIntyre is more angry. So again, is this planting the seeds to the Drew McIntyre heel turn? Or again, could they possibly swerve us? I still think the story is still fitting for me for McIntyre to go heel. Like, especially if there's these contract rumors. I think it's time. I do think it's time they pull the trigger on a Drew McIntyre heel turn. But they're probably creating the suspense as to when it will happen. Anyways, though, Seth Rollins then comes out. And also throughout the night, I forgot to mention this, throughout the night, to hype up the main event, which is the IC title match with Gunther and Chad Gable, they showed us reels of like the many different Intercontinental champions, which I thought was cool to see. But Seth came out, speaking of a former Intercontinental champion, 2-time champion, I believe it is. He comes out, welcomes us to Monday Night Rollins. He said Shinsuke did everything he was going to do on Saturday, but he's still the world champion. Nakamura was able to walk out of the building at the end of the night while he got pushed out on a wheelchair by his wife. And that doesn't sit right with him. He wants to right some wrongs. So he calls out Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura comes out but just stays back. Rollins says he knows there's only one way to get him down here. And he wants to give him another shot at the world title. Because he wants to finish him off. Nakamura then cleans his ear and he starts speaking in Japanese again. And then Seth's like, okay, I'm not pretending to understand. But I'm assuming you're accepting the challenge. But Nakamura says, no. Seth's confused and it's like, don't you want the rematch? Nakamura tells him, no. And then they shout no at each other a few more times. And Rollins is like, that's it. This won't work for me. So he rushes onto the stage and then they start the fight until security breaks them apart. And I believe Ricochet came out to help as well. Which set up for the match with Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. And of course, Adam Pearce tried to tell Rollins to leave, but Rollins says, no, this ain't done, and storms away. Ricochet and Nakamura have a match. I know they kind of overdid it, of course, with the booking for the Money in the Bank. Whenever they were qualifiers, they had that stupid triple threat feud involving Bronson Reed as well. This, by far, of course, you can tell Triple H wrote this match. Because this match... Sorry, get this fixed there. This match was 10 times better than any of the matches they had in the build to Money in the Bank. They worked really, really well together. And of course, Ricochet was pushing him to the limit. Nakamura finally had enough. He booted him over to the timekeeper's area. And then he started attacking Ricochet with a chair, which caused a DQ. Making Nakamura more and more dangerous. Of course, they get back in the ring. And then they have Nakamura trying to horse collar Ricochet with a chair. With the Kinshasa. But then Seth Rollins comes back out again. Makes the save. Security again is swarming it apart. And of course, Rollins does take out security with a tope con and then Nakamura, though, throws him back first into the steel steps and then beats him down. Ricochet then saves him with the steel chair. So, again, don't know what the point of Ricochet getting involved heavily is going to be, but we'll see. But like I said, it feels like, nope. It feels like, and they're going to do another match at Fastlane. Very obvious. Like I said, I'm not sure if I think they should not have had... I still think they should have had Seth win the match on Saturday with a curb stomp. I get they're trying to make him look lucky, but I think if they were going to do that, they should have had him do a roll-up instead of a stomp. Because I think, well, first off, I think the reason why Nakamura didn't accept the challenge is I think he realized he has to work Seth down more. Which is why I'm proposing the idea, and if I do get to make my Fastlane card predictions this week, which I do hope to do at some point, I think if the idea is Nakamura wants to wear Rollins down and Rollins wants to wear down Nakamura, they should do at Fastlane a last man standing match. Have we gotten one this year? If we did, it's been a while. I can't remember the last one. Was the last one Roman and Brock at SummerSlam last year? But yeah, do a last man standing match. That would be interesting, of course. Especially also, if the reason why they didn't capitalize on Nakamura at Payback, because even when I saw the match, I'm like, it doesn't feel like they're ready to give him the world title yet. But I think to make him more dangerous, to capitalize on him, for him to go after Rollins back even worse, do last man standing. Because if Seth wins that again, then I'm going to be kind of like, okay, then what was the point of this? You know, like, this feels like a way to reignite the fire in Nakamura and to really establish him as a dangerous heel. Last man standing and have... Oh, no, wait. The last man standing match was a last woman standing match, I think. It was Bianca and Bayley at Crown Jewel last year. I think that was the last one. Do not quote me on it, but I think that was the last one, which was also a phenomenal match. But yeah, last man standing is what I'm thinking they should go with it. But we will see. Of course, Judgment Day is watching along with that beatdown, but Rhea tells Priest not the right time right now. So they hold off on that. We then have a recap of the steel cage match and the aftermath with Zoey Stark seemingly ending her alliance with Trish Stratus, as this seems to be the end of the most recent run for Trish. But Zoey's being interviewed backstage, and she says she has a lot of respect for Trish. She learned a lot. Trish is the greatest of all time, but either way, you don't push Zoey Stark. And then Shayna Baszler rolls up. She tells Zoey, I've been wondering when you would ditch the dead weight. And Zoey says they have unfinished business. And she asks for a match tonight. So Shayna accepts. And they're basically going to see who the real baddest woman is in the company right now. Now that both Ronda Rousey and Trish Stratus are both gone. Which, by the way, later in the show, whenever Zoey and Shayna came out for the match, Michael Cole botched big time and said, Ronda Rousey, who drove Ronda Rousey out of WWE. Oh, gosh. At least it was... Okay, there was a couple little botches in there also. Like, I think like Rhea said later in the show something about, like, you know, JD's going to beat up Finn Balor. No, I'm sorry, I messed up. Sami Zayn or whatever it was that she said. But there was a couple botches in there which got me worried that, oh, crap, what if Vince is lurking? Because the last time we started seeing some botches was when Vince started lurking, like scripted promos, crap. But, again... This was purely a Triple H show, despite the couple botches. But anyways, we have Judgment Day backstage. They're chilling. Dom takes point and talks up their victories at Payback. Finn thanks... I'm sorry, they were in the ring here, not backstage. Finn thanks Rhea for being an influence and that him and Priest are truly great friends, even with their differences. And he also thanks JD McDonough for helping out and making him Grand Slam Finn. So Finn Balor is a Grand Slam champion, which is true. Unfortunately, the one, you know, title reign he had as world champion only lasted not even 24 hours. So that's a bummer, but, you know, he's a Grand Slam champion, so congratulations to Finn. Rhea says her boys really rose to the occasion. Show that they're really brothers. But the one thing, though, that's really aggravating her is the fact that the focus isn't on their accomplishments, but it's on Jey Uso coming to Raw. JD McDonough then comes out carrying something in a bag. Damian Priest says, yo, wait. A small part of me is actually starting to like you. So his reason for being out here better be good. JD comes in, he says it is good. He took a bullet for them. So the least he can do is come out here and explain. He mentions how Rhea said big changes are needed to the Judgment Day. And again, Priest, that briefcase has to go. Which, of course, Damian doesn't like that he suggested that again. And he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. He says, with all the gold, he doesn't need that briefcase. That specific one. He needs this one. And he pulls out a purple briefcase that says Senior Money in the Bank on it. Basically, it was like Judgment Day themed. I thought it was cool. So Priest is like, okay, I like it. He accepts it. And then Sami Zayn comes out. And he's like, aren't you guys feeling good about yourselves? But it took all 5 of you to rob Kevin and I of their titles. Did you really think we'd let that slide? You're bragging about all this, but what you look like is a bunch of giant championship-stealing turds. Dom Dom is the biggest turd of them all. He deserves a special beating, so he challenges Dom to an NXT North American title match. But then JD McDonough steps in and says, no. I will fight you instead. Basically showing he wants to prove himself that he belongs in the Judgment Day. And Sami accepts. So we get that match later on in the show. We also have Gunther cutting a backstage promo in German before talking English, saying how Chad Gable thinks he can stand in the way of his legacy. But his little fairy tale is temporary, and Gunther's legacy is forever. After the final bell rings, he will be the greatest and longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in history. Because all he says that Chad Gable's good at is pissing him off. Yes, I just tried talking in a German accent, but it probably didn't come out good. Anyways, we then have Raquel Rodriguez backstage chatting with Adam Pearce. He's going to work on making her request official. What that is, I don't know. But after she walks away, here comes the Karen of WWE, Chelsea Green. And she complains about not waiting in line behind Sasquatches. And Adam Pearce tells her, Piper Niven isn't medically cleared. Which apparently Piper Niven's sick. She's not injured, she's sick. They're saying, though, that it's something that she could probably get past in like a week or two, which thank God, because didn't she also deal with some recent health issues, which is why she was gone for a while until she came back at the Rumble earlier this year? I can't help myself. I just can't help myself. But anyways, he advises her of that. And basically he's like, I think you know what we need to talk about. And Adam Pearce says the title isn't what's cursed. And she gets mad about his implications. Basically saying what we all say. The women's tag titles are cursed. Maybe Adam Pearce wanted to get rid of the tag titles, which he should. So then she starts talking crap about Raquel Rodriguez. And then Raquel was still in the room, so she decided to stick behind and was chilling right behind her. And then Adam Pearce decides to make a match between the two of them later in the show. So Chelsea ran her mouth, and she's going to get what she deserves later. Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark had their match. Again, it was actually pretty good. They had pretty good chemistry. Shayna, though, was probably the more dominating one. Zoey felt like the underdog babyface, as she fought back several times, making her look like a badass. Unfortunately, though, Shayna just got the last bit of her out as the match ended by referee stoppage with the Karafuda clutch. Afterwards, though, Shayna walked over to Zoey in the corner, and she tells her, you put up a better fight than Ronda ever did. Zoey's like, same with you. Better than Trish ever did. And they fist bump. So, I don't know if that means they're, both baby faces. Doesn't guarantee that. And that they've been, they're both, kind of in between right now. Like Shayna's been like that ever since she turned on Ronda. And Zoey, which I keep saying, Zoey especially, I think by herself, she's more meant to be a babyface. Again, as a heel, as a lackey, yes. As a face, I just still feels like that she doesn't have a reason to be hated, in my opinion. She has a badass theme song. She's a great wrestler. She feels like someone who's meant to be liked. But this also could possibly set up for a new tag team. Because if they're faces, maybe they'll be the ones that dethrone Chelsea Green and whoever the hell her tag team partner is. Or you can just get rid of those women's tag titles because they are absolutely pointless. Pointless, I say. So that was interesting. Backstage, Judgement Day's hanging out again. Finn Balor does suggest bringing in JD McDonough to the group officially. Damian Priest's like, not quite yet. Finn's like, we wouldn't be champions without him. And Dom says, whatever you guys decide, I'm fine with it. Rhea, though, says, let's see how he does with his match against Sami. Finn and Damian leave together, but Rhea tells tells Dom to stay back and says, I need to make sure everything with JD goes how she wants. So he will probably be out there during his match with Sami. Chelsea Green and Raquel then had their match. Raquel basically squashed her, winning with a Tejada bomb. Afterwards, she gets on the mic and says, I want a rematch against Rhea next week, and with Dominic Mysterio barred from ringside, which was made official. We are getting that match next week. We'll see what happens. I'm guessing since Dom's barred from ringside, that probably might be another opportunity for JD McDonough to sweep in there and try to play hero and gain more of the trust of the Judgment Day for him to get into Judgment Day. I do want to see him in the Judgment Day. They got to do it. Before before Vince gets back. They got to do it. But, so we have that. Then we have a segment with Alpha Academy hanging out. Chad Gable hyping up for his match, saying he's had a lot of time to think about all of his accomplishments. And if Gunther thinks he doesn't belong in the history books, bad news, he already is. He's an Olympian. He's won every single tag title in the WWE. And he will prove tonight that he is more than just a tag team specialist. We then have backstage, we get a recap of Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre versus the Viking Raiders. Drew rolls up to Matt Riddle and says he's going to keep an eye on Jey Uso. And if he ruins things, he's going to go after the man that brought him here, Cody Rhodes. Those are two matches that I actually would like to see on pay-per-view. Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes, which they should do that whenever Cody becomes champion. But of course, he'd be on SmackDown because he's going to go after Roman. Or Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso would be a great feud also. But anyways, Kofi rolls up to apologize. Riddle's like, it's cool. But Drew's like, really? You're really trying to think that after I hit Woods with a chair by accident, that Kofi, you're going to accidentally kick Riddle in the face? I'm going to keep an eye out for these accidents, as he says. All right, then we got all this. As I keep saying, I love this version of The Miz. At first, it was like we're continuing the feud with him in LA Knight. Cool with me. This was genius. This was Miz to a T. So he has an episode of Miz TV. And I'm like, okay, they didn't advertise who his guest was going to be. So he starts to rant about what happened at Payback. About how he feels he was wrong because John Cena was a special guest referee. So he promised to have John Cena on the show. So he introduces John Cena. Cena's music plays, but Cena doesn't come out. Like, okay, who beat him down backstage? Then the cameraman starts the shot is basically a point of view of the cameraman, running around back and forth, and I realized, wait a minute. He's literally, the cameraman is basically doing John Cena's entrance. Of course, until they get to the ring. And The Miz then introduces John Cena, who's still not there, and gets on him for messing up at Payback and screwing him over. And he keeps acting like John Cena's sitting in the chair. He's saying his one-man show continues until he gets a confession, and then Cena is refusing to leave, apparently. And then Miz pretends that Cena shoves him, and then he takes off the jacket and basically pretends he's brawling with Cena, literally does the motions for a skull-crushing finale, and throws him out of the ring. I loved it. And then afterwards, he challenges LA Knight to a rematch. One-on-one, no surprises, no special guest referee. And he promises the chance will end and LA Knight will fade away. So I'm guessing another one-on-one match. No, like, special things about it. No special guest referee. Just a match with, like, nothing special about it. But The Miz basically, like, berating John Cena. And he wasn't even there. You could see him. That was genius. That was definitely, I would say, maybe in the top 5 for one of my favorite Miz promos. Because ones I always think of is, of course, his one with on Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan. There was one I remember he had when he basically dissed on both John Cena and Roman Reigns when they were building towards Cena and Roman, that I thought was like, because there was a ton of truth in it. One that I gotta always give him credit for was definitely the promo he cut when he basically his first appearance and Shane McMahon turned on him. Like, that promo proved to me Miz could be a babyface. That was so good. And then I guess this one, I'll say that's like my top 4 favorite Miz promos right there. But this was genius. I look forward to seeing another match with him in LA Knight. Probably a Fastlane. We'll see. So then backstage we have Jey Uso again. And first he runs into Akira Tozawa, who runs away from him. Can't remember if Tozawa really had any beef with the Usos, but oh well. He's still just a little job and comedy act. But anyways, he runs into Adam Pearce. Jey does. Who says, just so you know, it's going to be worse before it gets better. SmackDown is going to get somebody from Raw in return, and that might make some people angry. Which, obviously, the obvious pick would be Cody Rhodes going to SmackDown. Like, the story should be Cody made a deal with Jey. Hey, with pulling his politics, because as he even said too, he's an experienced EVP. You come over to Raw, get away from your family. I'll go to SmackDown and finish my story. Again, that should be the way Cody gets back to Roman instead of having him like win the Rumble or whatnot. Because I would rather see somebody else win the Rumble. Could be LA Knight. Could be Gunther. I don't know. Could be somebody else that you just don't even think of. But then, of course, they tease somebody because after this, Tommaso Ciampa rolls up to talk to Pierce, and they go into Pierce's office. So I don't know if that was just to kind of throw us off, or if they're still continuing, if they're going to start to bring the tease of the DIY reunion to Raw, because there's still these, like, pre-show exclusives where Ciampa's trying to find Johnny. We'll see where this goes, though. Again, it was advertised that Cody will be returning to Raw next week. And you would think he would do something with Jey before going to SmackDown. But we'll see, of course, what happens next week. And we'll find out eventually. But Sami Zayn had his match with JD McDonough. A match, wasn't bad. I liked their match better a couple weeks ago. But the reason why I like this one better, even though he got help from Dominic, is that JD McDonough won with a schoolboy roll-up. And afterwards, of course, Sami explodes, and he explodes into the corner on Dom. but then JD saves Dom, and then JD turns around. Then he basically tells Dom, get out of here, and then JD takes another bullet for Sami. Another bullet for the Judgment Day, taking a haluva kick from Sami Zayn. Showing again, he's trying to prove that he's a team player. Okay. Then backstage, Dominic and JD run to the Judgment Day, and Priest congratulates JD on his win. Finn wants to get rolling, but then Dom's like, hang on, I'll catch up with you. He goes over to Jey Uso. He's like, hey, yo, I know we both come from messed up families with Hall of Fame fathers. And he gets it. But he now has the tightest family of them all. And he basically invites him into the Judgment Day. We'll see. I mean, again, like that's probably, since of course Judgment Day has to be the biggest thing about Raw right now. That's why I'm thinking they might not have Kevin Owens come back. Or maybe he will. And I think we're going to get some sort of like a 6-man at Fastlane. Again, it could be Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso and Sami Zayn versus the 3 men of the Judgment Day. Or it could be like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso versus again against the Judgment Day. Or you can maybe throw in Raquel Rodriguez and make it like a 8-man mixed tag match or something. We'll see. That's probably where they're going to go for like the fun like car crasher type match for Fastlane. But we'll see where that goes as well. Then the main event was Gunther defending the Intercontinental title to officially claim his spot as the longest reigning Intercontinental champion of all time. Even though we have to get till Friday, Monday was the last title defense he would be having though before he breaks that record, and it was an awesome match. I remember also watching because there were spots in the match where like Gable was countering to like submissions, especially his ankle lock, and I kept thinking the one time where Gunther lost his championship, his UK title, Dragunov had to get him to tap out to a different move. So I thought, what if that move for Gable to win is some sort of a submission? But then it was like Gunther got like one lucky shot in there that just led him to do like a series of like 3 moves. Like a powerbomb, a lariat, well just 2. He powerbombed Gable and he did like the heartbreaking lariat with the icing on the cake. And Gunther retains. And he officially, as of Friday, will pass the Honky Tonk Man's record and be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. And by God, does he deserve it. Thinking back to, again, how last year, just a few weeks before he retired, Vince wanted to bury him. Vince wanted to bury Gunther. And now look at him 1 year later. The longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. He's had several classic caliber matches. Great to classic matches. Of course, Sheamus, his best match 101. That triple threat match he had with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania also is up there. His matches with Rey Mysterio, Shinsuke Nakamura, Braun Strowman, Ricochet. He had a good match with Drew McIntyre. Money in the Bank. Who did he fight at Money in the Bank? Matt Riddle. That was okay. He had a great match with Mustafa Ali, also a crown jewel. So, yeah, he's just about ready for a main event spot. Now, I'm pretty sure, though, first also, the show did end when they zoomed in on Chad Gable's daughter crying, which was heartbreaking. I still think we're going to get one more match. But honestly, this is another match I have lined up ready for Fastlane. Do 2 out of 3 falls. 2 out of 3 falls because Gunther can say that Chad Gable's only beaten him by count out. And that's him getting lucky. So why not put him to the challenge and have Chad Gable beat him not once, but twice in the same night to give him the Intercontinental title? Just saying. That would be a really, really good match. Like, if the idea of this match was to feel like Gunther's and Ilya Dragunov's first match for the title, where Ilya came up just short, but it was still a match of the year candidate, to have the even bigger moment when Ilya dethroned Gunther, and again have Chad Gable, who is again a submission specialist, get Gunther to tap out. One of the victories could be that could be the second victory. Again, I do 2 out of 3 falls. Spice it up. Make it interesting. We'll see, though. That's Raw, though. Again, I thought it was a great show. I gave it a B+ for a grade. I really thought it was a great storytelling-driven show. Great setups. Stuff with Jey Uso. Main event for the IC title was awesome. We of course, witnessed history. Stuff with the Judgement Day was decent. I'll give it that. Miz and the Invisible John Cena was awesome. Even again, Nakamura and Ricochet had a great match. A lot of great stuff. Like I said, this would have been a good show to go live for. Unfortunately, they didn't have it set up for, so it didn't happen. But that's going to do it, guys. That's my review of Raw. Gave it a B+. What are you guys' thoughts on this episode of Raw? Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter at @TheClubWithTheMan93. Also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at @TheClubWithTheMan1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. And do not forget also, I do like this hat. Because Jake Hager's, it's better than you. It's better than yours. And you know it. Because in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion. That is a fact of life. Yeah!